This is the one of 2 yearly updates that I like to do on this channel. I can't remember what the original reason was, but let's get comfortable. Let's, get a little bit cozy. Merry Chrysler, Merry Crisis, Merry Crimum. Cheers. I'm sure they're 10 p.m. It's 10 p.m.? 10 p.m. at night is a completely reasonable time to have a coffee. It's fine. 2020. What a year, hey? What a situation. What a coffee. This year was the first for a few things. It was the first time that I lived interstate, that I lived out of home. First time in 3 years that I didn't go to Japan or really travel at all, because I did a lot of travel prior to this year. It was flying from Brisbane to Melbourne and Sydney and Adelaide, and going to Hong Kong and South Korea and Japan and having a great time. And then COVID was like, let's talk. I knew for a long time that I needed to reel myself in, that I'd been going a little bit too hard for a little bit too long, needed to hit pause. So what I did was I took over New Game Plus. I took over most of the editing for Checkpoint, which went really, really well for me. I only passed 3 subjects this year, where most full-time students passed 8. Wasn't really happy about that. Didn't have to be homeless or ask for loans. That's great. Living in a lovely apartment. You might have seen little bits and pieces of it before, but that's the Melbourne skyline, baby. Living the dream. Don't ask me if I'm living the dream when semester starts. I don't want to know about it. New Game Plus was actually, it was a solid in my life that I knew I needed, and that's why I've always struggled pulling myself away from it. There were times where I wasn't particularly proud of the product that I was putting forward, but it's, it's a community show. You're not like, we really need to make sure we hit this demographic and we make sure that we really target the market. We are a community show. We are by the community, for the community. It was certainly a bit of a car crash sometimes on Twitch, and the amount of work that I made for myself in publishing podcasts and putting it on YouTube and submitting to C31 and C44 every single week. I probably didn't need to do all of that, but I did it because we came so fucking close to C31 being shut down again. I should have known that it wasn't gonna happen, but it really seemed like it did at the time. And so I was like, we need to make sure the New Game Plus is prepared for whatever comes next, i.e. when C31 gets shut down. So I made it a podcast. Turns out that's not happening next year, which I think I probably would be a bit more bitter if I had not done almost everything that I want to do with that show. That's not to say that there's no reason for me to go on New Game Plus. I love working with all those people. I love hanging out with all those people. New Game Plus is one of the key reasons, one of 2 I think in my head, why I wanted to move to Melbourne in the first place. And so I'm going to be on New Game Plus, but I've done everything that I want to do with the show in a creative, professional sort of capacity. Checkpoint felt like more of a continuation on the work I was doing in Z Games, but doing it from home knocked me around towards the back end of 2020 more than I thought it would. I remember halfway through the year, it seemed irresponsible to go into the studio where we had the option to. Joy's studios are in Melbourne City, and a lot of people don't live near the city like I do, so it seemed irresponsible, especially going into the second wave, to do that. By the end of the second wave, I was well and truly sort of I'm not as invested in this as I was at the beginning of the year. That has nothing to do with the people that I worked with. Luke and Elliot have been fantastic in dealing with the 1 or 2 times where I broke, which I remain not particularly proud of. I'd also been doing sort of that sort of radio, video game radio for 3 years now, 17, 18, 19, 24 years. That's it's a long time to be doing that kind of thing. And I know that some people get I've been here for a while when they have paid jobs, but I was also paid when I was doing Z Games in Brisbane. We had a community grant to do that. We don't have that with Checkpoint, and even if we did, I'm not sure that I would necessarily stick around because, again, whether I want to call it everything I've wanted to do creatively or what I feel I could accomplish with the format, having a longer show meant that I could really dive into the Global Game Jam. I did a full hour-long special on that event. That was way more than I needed to, and I think I did the same for PAX as well. PAX Online, which Yeah, that was great, wasn't it? So all of that is kind of where I'm at with New Game Plus and Zed Games. New Game Plus and Checkpoint, and that's why I have very much made the decision to sort of step back from New Game Plus, move some of the contributors to CheckpointGaming.net, the website that Checkpoint is sort of attached to the hip to, into editors for that show, so that I'm not the only one that can do that. I mean, Luke can as well, but I don't want to have one person be responsible for editing, because it's not like, an insane amount of workload, but when you're juggling a few other things, as Luke knows, and as he warned me, I was like, no, I can do this. I can do uni and like 2 community shows. Babes, of the 3 subjects that I passed this year, one of them was journalism. It was feature writing. 2 of the features I am still kind of proud of. One was on the Melbourne International Film Festival. My friend Morgan helped me with that. And one was a profile on my previous producer and very good friend Blair from Queer Radio. My third feature I wasn't particularly proud of, didn't get published. For that reason, I fucking phoned that shit in. But one thing that I am super proud of that I did was a photo essay. I didn't expect to do that this year. I was using the same camera that I'd been using for the last year doing video work. I'd done very little photography. I think I'd done a single Couch Warriors event. And I went out and I took photos of people that had lived through Melbourne's lockdown, and I told their stories. And it was good to just be able to see people again, for one. That was really nice. But I realized that I might have more of an interest in photography than I thought I did originally. I was like, I'm a video guy, I don't know how to do photography, I have a nice camera, which is still true. It's a different nice camera now, it's a Fuji X-T4. I think that I kind of want to do more photography. In case you don't watch until the end, doesn't surprise me, follow me on Instagram, @cringeworthy, because I'll be wanting to do more photo stuff, I think, from here on out. I haven't mentioned my day job. I work as a barista. If I put this on screen, maybe you'll know what cafe I work at. And working through COVID wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. For the most part, it was just good to have something to get out of me. For the most part, it was good to have something to get me out of the house. Yeah, it wasn't much. It was like 3 hours a week. And the company that I work for was very much kind enough to pay all of the employees with contracted hours. So if you're part-time, you have regular hours, to pay them their contract hours, regardless of how many hours they work. Because the reality is, there was no reason. It was unsafe. It was unjustifiable to have a full store of staff in at any given time, because the foot traffic was so low. Mostly through the second wave in Victoria. The first wave was low, but it wasn't as bad as the second wave. Having that has been good. It's not the best job in the world, but it is a good, solid job that sort of grounds me, takes me for a ride. I take it for a ride, and then it takes me for a ride. And it's been good to have people there that I get along with as well. I genuinely... Here's a concept. You're locked inside your fucking shoebox home. You've moved into state. You're away from all of your friends, all your family. Not all of your friends, but most of your friends. And you're doing better than you probably were a year and a half ago. 2020 had the pandemic. And it was, I think, on reflection, better than my 2019. I did a lot of things in 2019, but I think it may be the year that I stretched myself the thinnest that I have. And after this year, I am going into 2021 with an eye to not do that as much. So 2021, what are we heading towards? What's coming up? Coming up next, Joy News. So I'm on the news team now for the radio station that I work at is Joy 949 in Melbourne. A lot of gays there, a lot of queers, LGBTQ+. I use queer as an umbrella term, it's fine. That has been good to, I think, work in broadcast in a space that has not been games. Because as much as I've enjoyed almost all of the work that I've done with games, short of some of the marketing work that I wasn't probably as proud of as I probably could have been, it's been good to do media work that isn't game specific. At this point, it's just news writing and reading. That might change into bits and pieces around some of the video stuff that they want to do. Yeah, we'll see where that goes. I don't really know what I want out of it yet. It feels like it hasn't been a fluke. Like it hasn't been, I know how to talk about video games, so I'm just like winging my way through this. Like I have an interest in news. I think I can say, I'm blowing my own horn here a little bit, I might be competent at news writing and news reading. Not great, but competent. That'll be interesting. And then obviously that like Joy News on top of uni next year. Yeah, that's mostly what 2021 is going to be. This channel is mostly for like little bits and pieces. There might be, you know, I'd like to see more of Victoria. I think I'd like to see more of Australia, because the reality is we're not leaving the country for quite a while. Jason might think he's getting to Japan mid next year. I think he's fucking dreaming. And even if he's not, he's insane for wanting to do it, because there are just so many fucking cases. Seeing more of Victoria, seeing more of Australia, and I think documenting more of that through some of the photography stuff that I want to do. Traveling with people would be good, but it's always hard. Like, unless you've got a significant other who's going to travel with you. My housemate, Jimmy, loves travel, whether it's trains, planes, I'd say, or buses. Fucking hates buses. I don't blame it. Maybe I'll travel around with him. We'll see how that goes. Hope you all had a good year. Well, I hope you all didn't have as much of a nightmare year as a lot of people did, because it is not lost on me that I am doing very, very well. I'm not doing that well, but I feel like I am so incredibly fortunate to have a support network of people, to have sort of like 2 feet planted firmly on the ground for the first time in my life, which is insane again, because this year has been a fucking nightmare. So I hope you've gotten something good out of this year. Like, I've been lucky enough to get a lot of good things out of this year, because you had to make the best of the situation. You know, you've got to work with the cards you've been dealt, and I certainly have. But I hope that you've been doing all right. I hope your Christmas and your New Year's is looking a little bit better. If you happen to tune into New Game Plus, or into Checkpoint, or into Joy News, or I don't know, into any like Twitch streams or any weird shit that I've done, even once, thank you. If you happen to say thank you for making the podcast, that I can't articulate how much that means to me. Like, there were so many times where I was like, is anyone listening to this? Does anyone fucking care that we're making all of this? For Checkpoint especially. Checkpoint, it's 2.5 hours of content. That is so much content to get through in a week. And for New Game Plus, it was a good hour of content at least every single week. And to hear people say that they wanted to see it and they missed seeing it, thank you. I'm going to point you to New Game Plus, the YouTube channel. I'll have that link in the description. Follow me on Instagram, @cringeworthy. That's where I'll post the most stuff that I think is of value. I mostly just shitpost on Twitter. I don't really put anything of value on Twitter. But I put stuff that I actually think is kind of neat or cute on Instagram, which may be selfies sometimes. I'm doing more photography stuff. There's going to be stuff uploaded to Insta. So just follow me on Insta, @cringeworthy. And yeah, that's probably where you'll be most likely to see me next year. Thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you're doing well. Hope things are looking up for you. And I'll catch you next time.